and response, if possible. So my name is Ahmed Dabaho. I'm a DEMAC program specialist, and we have today Shang with us. Shang, who is our communication officer also. And our facilitator usually is still Anastasia, who is based in Kiev, in Ukraine. And I hope she will not have any alarm and she will stay with us, because if there are some missiles, she has to run to the basement. So I hope there's no alarm, and stay safe, Anastasia.
Thank you.
The rules, the ground rules, as we spoke also last week, is we're going to stay duration of 2 hours. The language will be English, and recording started. If you have any concern about the recording, you can text us in the chat. Also mute yourself when presentation is going on. Then in the group discussion, or when you have a question, you can write your question in the chatting space, or in the, yes, what was the other option we had, Anastasia?
It's a Google document. You can write there as
in
well.
the Google comment, you can write that also. And please feel good. And if you don't understand much, maybe you can ask, and Anastasia will try to explain more and deeply. So welcome on board, everybody. Yes, we're going to start. So I will welcome Anastasia, our facilitator today. Welcome. Introduce again yourself, then start. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you very much, Dabaho, and welcome everybody. So for the question, you have 2 options. You can put them directly in the Zoom chat, or you can put them in the Google Doc, whatever works better for you. We will answer the question at the end of the session. So don't hesitate if you have any questions to put them there. If we will not have enough time during the session to answer your question, I will answer them in a written format after the workshop, so you will anyway receive your answers. So don't hesitate to put your questions. Okay, let's go to myself. My name is Anastasia. As Dabaho said, I'm in Kiev right now, Ukraine. Hopefully no missile attacks will interrupt our workshop. If there will be anything, I will take 10 minutes break to go to the shelter, and we'll continue from the shelter. I have a bunch of certification about Kanban, Agile, Scrum, and am very happy to share my knowledge with you today. Today we will have more practical questions based on this theoretical knowledge that we received the last workshop. So for those who was in the last workshop, please write in the chat 1 sentence that you remember from the previous workshop. Just a reminder, the previous workshop was about Lean and Agile. And Lean is methodology, Agile is more as a philosophy. And on Agile, we have also the tool as a Scrum and Kanban. And today we will review Scrum and Kanban in details. So anything from a previous workshop, something around value, something around users, customers, waste, flow, anything? Okay.
Should
Yeah,
can I write
okay.
also here on the board? Where should we write?
In the Zoom chat.
In the Zoom chat. Okay, great. Let's try.
Sorry, can you repeat again the question?
Kadra, was you in a previous workshop? Have you participated?
Okay, I'm writing now.
And the question is, from a previous workshop, what do you remember? Like 1 sentence, whatever you remember, what we were speaking about, like just 1 sentence, whatever comes to your mind. There is no bad or good answers, no correct answer, just something that go to your head from a previous. Agile is a very old methodology, very nice, Davaha. Yeah, it was not invented yesterday. More than 20 years ago. And Lean is more than 70 years ago. Okay, if you do not remember much, that's not a problem. Let's go to practical execution. I will a little bit during the workshop remind you about different values and principles. We've had the discussion previously. So we will start with the Kanban. Agile is a new methodology. It's very old or new. It was invented in Agile itself, Agile Manifesto in 2001. So what is new or old is relevant behind that. So, but the Kanban itself, Kanban is very much based on a lean. It's an approach that you can apply in whatever process you have. So if you are doing a classical project management, you can apply Kanban. If you are doing Scrum, you can apply Kanban. Or you can apply Kanban in your, like as a separate methodology, in your separate methodology. And we will review it now in a little bit more in detail. So Kanban.
General practice, yes. Service delivery principle, change. Yeah, I'm remember a lot. I'm flashback now.
Nice, nice, very good,
Yeah.
very good. Thank you.
Establish,
Thank you.
yeah.
Yes, it's a
Make
lot
policies or everything. I'm remember now. Framework. Yeah.
Great. We will review it a little bit in details right now.
Thank you. Okay.
Great. So Kanban is about to create the flow. So in the left side, you see the picture of a road full of demand, full of cars, and there is no possibility to fulfill this demand, like everything is blocked. So Kanban, on the opposite, on the right, is to create the flow to match this demand and capability, to create some different rules around that will help us to manage this flow and to create the constant flow of delivery, the value. So Kanban is based on the service delivery principles, as Kadra said. Thank you, Kadra. So you can think about that as, again, as a flow. So you have here at the left hand the request, then there is a delivery, and at the end you deliver the value to the customer. So there is different principles. The first is understand and focus on customer needs and expectation. Manage the flow, not the people. That's a lot about the Kanban. So Kanban is not when you give task to somebody, is to create the flow when everybody know when they need to take next task, and you do not manage people, but you manage the flow itself. And inspect and adapt, as it's in Agile. So you regularly review the flow and its policy in order to improve the flow and the value. We will see that in details in a minute. There are different general practices, and the first one is visualize. It's probably one of the most important practices in a Kanban. And Kanban, I will remind you also, it's an iterative approach when you evolutionary improve your process. So you start where you are right now. You do not invent new processes, etc. Wherever you are at right now, how you are doing your project management right now, and your first step is to visualize, so you can see where is the waste, how the work items are going through the flow, where the potential point of improvement is going on. And it's done by Kanban board. Today, we will together create a Kanban board with you. There are different examples of the Kanban board. So here, for example, and you see the example of the IT board. So it can be one small team board. It can be service board. So when, for example, here you see the board for the HR that start with the candidate and finish with the offer. And it can be also a huge department board. So wherever is like most suitable to your organization, it can be on a team level, on a service level, or on department level. So how you create your board, your Kanban board? First, we start with the flow. And to visualize the flow, we need to understand what is the purpose of this flow and what is the workflow. By the workflow means what the different steps the work item is going from request to the end through his period of a life inside your team or inside your service or inside of department, depending where you apply the Kanban at which level. Why we are doing that is, again, because we want to visualize our work. We need to understand what is the value we are delivering, what is the steps that are delivering value, where our waste, like waiting, unproduction is happening, and then we can think about how to improve this flow overall. And when we are saying improve in Kanban, we are speaking about the time, so how fast the work item goes through the flow from the request to the value, and about the quality. Let's practice. I will put it here. So I created 2 Kanban boards for us today. The first one will be portfolio board. And please, I need your active participation in the chat. I will ask you the questions and you will help me to create that. So this is our, imagine we are a Somali diaspora organization and we are managing different projects. So here you see 2 projects that we are managing right now. The first one is reconstruction of a school. Okay, this is a card. And the second is reconstruction of medical hospital. So what you see now is a board with the different steps. And each item on this board represents a work item. Here we are speaking about the portfolio board, where all our projects are sitting, but it can be also the board like as your daily activity. We will see it a little bit later. Here, let's focus. Let's imagine that we manage in different projects. And first thing first, we want to visualize all the projects that we are working right now. So we have started with the reconstruction of a school. We think, okay, what is the flow of our project? We started already to prepare it, and I need your help. So first, it starts with need assessment. I think no objections here. Then we seek for the money, so fundraising. Then we move this money on the ground to a local committee. Help me, please. What happens next after we transfer money on the ground? Please put it in a chat. What should be next column? So we collect, we did the need assessment, then we collect the money with the project, then we transfer this money on the ground. What are next steps before it's done? Contracting. Okay, thank you, Deborah. Contracting. I'm adding a column, so I'm visualizing the whole flow my project needs to go. So now fundraising, transfer money, contracting, anything else before we can say, okay, now the project is done? Any idea? What could be the next step after the contracting? Implementing. Okay, thank you. Implementing. So now our flow of the project is like that. Needs assessment, fundraising, transfer money, contracting, implementing, anything else before it's done? before we can consider, okay, our project is done.
Balanino delivery.
I'm sorry, I didn't get it. Can you please write in the chat? Planning. I think planning should happen before the implementing, right? Because like we can put planning here and then implementing. Are you okay with that? Is it okay for you? Because we have already implementing, so planning should happen before the implementing. Yes, okay. Then we have also, nice. We have also quality check. Okay. Quality check. Handovering. Handover. Yasin, can you please help me to understand where the tender step should go?
Goes before implementing.
Before implementing, after the contracting?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you. Tender. Before implementing. Okay, nice. Thank you very much. Let's see how our flow looks like now. So we have needs assessment, fundraising, transfer money, contracting, planning, tender, implementing, quality check, handover, and done. So we have visualized, we didn't change anything in your daily work. We just visualized what you are doing right now. What is your current steps? And we have visualized the work. So for example, we have here the reconstruction of the school. Let's imagine, let me check. Okay, let's imagine it's going to contracting, okay? And we have, for example, reconstruction of medical hospitals, that it's in a need assessment. So that's how like our work is distributed. So now we have created together with you the flow, like with a very similar, very basic flow. We will now improve it. Let's go. So the next important thing, Kadra also remember about that, is policy. Policy in Kanban is actually here to answer the question about when task is done, when task can move from one stage to another, and what's happening then. Remember, we need to create a flow where the task is going simultaneously from one stage to another. So here from one stage to another, and we need to know, okay, when needs assessment is finished, when contracting is finished, and what should happen next. So the policy, you can think about it as a definition of done. So kind of a checklist when the task is done for a particular column. So when I can say that the need assessment is finished, when I can say the fundraising is finished, this policy needs to be discussed and agreed together with your team. So all team need to discuss together, did we not forget anything, and document and put explicitly on the board. We will create now the checklist to see how it can be visualized. And it should help you to improve the quality, to make sure that you do not forget anything in transition that might potentially need for you to rework the work that you already done, which is, remember the last workshop, is a waste when we need to rework the thing. So we are aiming for right thing at a time. From the first time we are creating value. In order to do that, we are creating policies. So how policies can be created in Jira? I have created already some for you. Oh no, I didn't. Okay, that's good. So oh, I did, sorry. I did it in a different board, I think. Let me check very quickly. Okay, yes, here. So imagine we are creating a request for quotation. So we are requesting the price from our local community, not local community, so local contractor. So we are seeking for the local contractor, and we are requesting them the price, and then they give us back the price and what we need to check with them. We need to check that it has the project specification, it has the timeline, how much it will take for them to deliver that. It has the budget, it has some evaluation criteria, and it was agreed with the local committee. For each of the column like that, we can create a checklist or the policy when we consider that the project is done. So let's imagine let's take this one, when we are in a needs assessment. So please help me, whatever comes to your mind, just 2-3 policy when we can see what are the criteria that the need assessment is finished. What should be the criteria? What do you think? Kind of the checklist. Okay, if you check that, it makes sense to sense that it's done. Project committee engaged. Thank you, Dabajo. Anything else? Interviews. Okay. What mean interviews? Interview passed, interviews done, interviews drafted, questionnaire.
Questionnaire and interview, design it to ask the people. Also, you organize a team for the assessment and make place their logistic to make the assessment.
Organize team for the assessment. And potentially the assessment itself is done. Otherwise, we couldn't say that the need assessment is done, right?
Yes.
Okay, assessment is done. Of course, it is a mistake. Great. Any other ideas?
Before you make the assessment, you have to recruit a professional who can make a good quality of assessment.
Professional that can make a good assessment. Very good. So this is like, I'm not creating the ideal flow, right? Or ideal policy. I'm just giving you the examples of the policy that can be created. And what is important is that they are making explicit in each of the steps. And for each of the team, everybody understands, like, for example, okay, we have project committee engaged and interview design, but questionnaires is not designed, for example, yet, or team is not organized. While we do not check all the checkbox about the quality of our work item to be done, we couldn't move it to the next column. Only once everything is checked, we can move it to fundraising. And once, what is important, once everything is checked, that's the signal to us that, okay, now we can move it to the next column. So it's not waiting to somebody to come to you and tell, that's the time, team, to move to fundraising. You see, okay, everything is checked, booms, we are moving forward. So that's about policies. And policies, it's all about your agreement, your internal agreement in a team, how you do your work. It will be different from team to team, what you consider as a done to move to the next step. Swim lanes. So the swim lanes is there to visualize any potential, like any particular task that you need to bring particular attention. It can be done in different ways. So here you see the swim lanes, the examples. So you can think about it exactly as a, like swim lanes, for example, in a pool. So each work items go their particular role. It can be done by different types. It's up to you to decide what should you take as a swim lanes, as a matter of the swim lanes. It serves you for the better visualization. So here, usually, like there is a different class of work, and in here, in these scales, you see the time, so how much time the task or the work item need to take, and the cost of delay. So standard work item is actually with the time, the cost of delay is increasing the same way as we delay the task. We have an expedite when something like very bad happen or something unexpected, and we need to deal with that straightforward. So the cost of delay is high immediately the task is created. It has a fixed date. So when we need to deliver something, for example, because of our donors, like the report until 1st of August, we can do that anytime before the 1st of August. So the cost of delay is minimal here. But after the 1st of August, the cost of delay is just going on the sky. So we need to do that before that date. And there is also intangible. Intangible is usually like considered in project management, everything around the process improvement. Like usually we do not have much time for that, right? To improve our process, but more we delay that, more the cost of delay is increasing. So this is a different class of works in Kanban. But the swim lanes can be also organized not only by class of work, but by different projects.
Can we say this is a sequence or priority of task or activity?
Can you please repeat?
I said, can we say this is the sequence or priority of activity?
It can be, yes. It usually happens, yes, exactly. It shouldn't usually happens with a priority. So when the class of work kind of expedite something urgent come to our shoulders, we put the high priority to them. Intangible, we usually put the low priority because there is not so much cost of the delay. But we need to visualize them and make it visible to not forget about them because the cost of delay will be bigger in the future. And with a fixed date, so you can manage this different class of work by the priority, definitely. And you can also, for each of the class of work, create a different swim lane to visualize it in your Kanban board. So here, for example, in our Kanban board, let's imagine a flood has happened and we need to deal with that, okay? And we want to concentrate on that. So we want everybody, imagine here we have a lot of tasks, but we want everybody to concentrate on this flood. So we put the priority high because it's an expedite. Here you see Jira creating for us the swim line expedite, straightforward. And we, for example, directly go to the need assessment and put all our effort there. So now we have visualized, okay, this is our top priority and this is everything else. And this is our top priority because it's expedite, because of the different class of work, because the cost of delay is high, straightforward. Okay, the last is a work in progress limit. And the work in progress limit is one of essential tools that is used in Kanban to manage the flow. Remember, we are here to manage the flow. And here is an example from NASA. When they were asked, how do you get to work on the moon? They said, do one thing at a time with supreme excellence. So it say about two things. First, focus on quality, supreme excellence, and one thing at a time. So limit your work in progress. Limit how many work items you are working right now. It's based also, like, there is a lot of theory behind the work in progress limit. I will very briefly outline a few of them, just to you to get the understanding that it's not taken out of blue, and you can read a lot of materials on the internet on the work in progress limit. One of the theory behind that is a loss to the context switching, So in the work we are doing, when we have 100% of our time, we need to focus on one task, we put 100% of our energy in one task. But when we have two tasks at the same time to be done, it's not already 50-50, it's 40-40, because 20% we lost on the context switching. So it's a time when our brain need to actually switch the context from one item to another. And more tasks we are dealing at the same time right now, more we pay in the loss on the context switching. And another thing about work in progress limit is a little loss. So in the Kanban, there is a lead time metric. Lead time metric is very important metric. It say how much time it takes from one work item to go from the request to the value to the customer, to the done. So in our example, is how much time it takes from to do to done. And it's calculated in Jira, it's calculated automatically in your physical board. If you will have a physical board, you can calculate it manually. This is a very essential metric that you try to decrease. And actually, this lead time, it's a formula between average work in progress limit in your board and delivery rate. Delivery rate is how much time how many work items we deliver in a day. So here you see an example of the board. We have here work in progress. 2 plus 4 plus 2 plus 2 is equal 10. Assuming that we deliver 2 work items per day, I can already say that it takes for you, for each of the work items to be delivered, 5 days. So in order to decrease the time you need to deliver a work, you can do that by managing the average work in progress limit. And let's see that very quickly on our board. I know before we go to the board, let's speak also a little bit about the pull system. So the pull system in Kanban, as I said, is an essence of the flow. So in our board here, we do not say, hey, my dear colleague, please go and do the fundraising because we have finished the need assessment. No, we know when the work needs to be taken. So we do not do push, we do the pull instead. And for that, we need also some signals. So for example, we can, apart from policies, we can create also the column called, for example, ready for fundraising. And the column ready for fundraising. Back to board. So once we finish it with needs assessment, we put it ready for fundraising, and then somebody who is responsible for fundraising, or the same team who is responsible for fundraising, it's visible for them. It's for them the signal, okay, we can start the fundraising campaign. So this work in progress limit, it creates this pull system, and it's also encourage the collaboration, because I have reached my work in progress limit, so I couldn't pull another work. What else I can do? Then I can go and help my colleagues to finish their work. And the theory and the practice say that it will be much more efficient to go and help your colleagues to finish your work so that it can be moved to the value to the customer faster than start another work item. There is a mantra in Kanban, it's say stop starting, start finishing. So stop, start the new work, start finishing existing work. And work in progress limit is a great tool for that. So how it works in practice? Let's imagine we are also here in to-do, in reconstruction of a school. Okay, we have for need assessment, we have a work in progress limit too. Okay, so now if I will put reconstruction of a pool, of a school here, it say no, you couldn't do the need assessment for reconstruction of a school because it has reached your work in progress limit. You need first to finish what you already have here in the progress, and then you can pull another work. So start, finish it, stop starting, or stop starting, start finishing. That's a work in progress limit. So yeah, it's improves the flow, it's reduce the weight, it's help you to deal with blockers, because sometimes, okay, I'm blocked here and needs assessment, and I'm blocked here and needs assessment. Why not I can pull another work? Start to think about how to unblock your blockers and deliver value faster instead of starting the new work. Okay, and yes, and everyone has own working agreements, and you need to visualize them. So on that note, we have finished it with the basic principles of the Kanban. And overall, just to repeat, visualization is a key. Limit your work in progress. Once you have visualized your board, understand where is the value on non-value added activities. Remember the last workshop. So you can reduce the waiting time. So for example, we have here ready for fundraising. If a work item is waiting too long and ready for fundraising, it's a waste because nobody is working on it right now. So it's waste in your process, in your flow. You can inspect and adapt with your team, think about, okay, why it's happening and what we can do to improve it. Avoid repetitive works with improved policies, cross-functional team, and walk the board. You do that. So first you visualize what you have now as your process. You start to use your board to calculate the lead time or to calculate how much time it takes to you. And then you think, okay, what we can improve. You plan, do, check, and act. PDCA cycle. So you improve the small steps. How we can, we saw that like we spending a lot of time in fundraising. Why it's happening? So let's think about it. How we potentially can help, can improve it. And you take it by small experiment. You plan, you do, check, and act accordingly. So you plan your small experiment. You do your experiment, you check the results, and then you understand, okay, should I take it, or should I take it as a practice, or should I take another experiment, for example. The feedback loop in Kanban is also very important. But the Kanban do not prescribe you, unless daily walk the board, how often you need to do your feedback loop. but it doesn't mean that you don't have any ceremonies or any meetings around. So the first thing is a daily stand-up or daily walk the board. I will give you the details about how it's happened. And then we have the meeting, the prioritization meeting, where we prioritize our work items in a priority order. So everybody know what's next should be taken. We do the release and delivery meeting, also like planning, grooming, whatever is needed for you to get the feedback loop about, to get the feedback about the process and product, but it do not prescribe you a particular needed meeting unless the walk the board. Now, so walk the board, imagine, so here we were working in this board on the projects. Imagine you are doing Kanban for your daily work. And here I have created a small daily work board that has only like do in progress and done columns. So let's imagine that we are working with selecting the contractor for our reconstruction of a school. So we need first to create a request for quotation, and then we need to communicate it, select the contractor, and sign the contractor. So let's imagine that we have already created the request for quotation, and now we need to communicate this request for quotation to our different local communities and contractors, and then we will be able to select the contractor. So that's how our, for example, a day of work, a board looks like, and we come as one day and we see this board. So what we do with the team, we walk the board. When we walk the board, we go from right to left. So we start with what is in progress. We first focus on what is more close to the done, okay? And then we communicate what isn't to do. And here I have a very simple board with to do, in progress, and done. But remember that you should visualize your workflow, your particular workflow. So the work items that are more closer to the right has more value to the customer because it's more closer to the customer. So we need to focus on it more. And we need to focus more on the finishing. So stop starting, start finishing. And if you have any block task, you need also to visualize it on a board. Here in Jira, you can do that by adding a flag. So it creates this, like it changes the color, so everybody see, okay, we have some blocker in communicate the RFQ. What happened? How I can help you? So if something is blocked, you need to collaborate together with your team and make it explicit and visual to everybody, so everybody can collaborate together. That's how the daily work the board happens, and in Kanban, it's happened every day. So every day, team come to the board, and they examine what is more closer to the done, if there is any blockers, how we can help each other, and what we should do to move it to the next stage. Yes. So at the end, you have your beautiful flow with the policies around, and overall Kanban help you with this increased visibilities to reveal the bottlenecks and all the tasks in your workflow, and to have everybody on the same page. So any person, anytime can go to the board and see where we are right now. It eliminates the overload, because if I see that somebody is blocked or somebody is overwhelmed, I can come and help him. It's reduce and eliminate multitasking by work in progress. And overall, once you not only visualize your board, but you constantly think about how to improve it based on the metrics that you have on your board about how long it takes to work item to go from one column to another, you constantly improve it, and it increase your productivity and leads to the better quality. overall, that's the circle of improvement in Kanban. So first you visualize, then you limit your work in progress, you start to manage your flow, you create the explicit policy, you introduce the feedback loop to inspect and adapt around your process, and you incorporate the small improvements on experiments to constantly improve your process. That's more or less all about the short introduction in Kanban. And now we are going to Scrum. Small sip of the water. Okay, Scrum, fun part as well as Kanban. Scrum is very much an iterative approach. So if Kanban is also iterative, but it's more iterative around your process, Scrum is more iterative about the products that you are creating or the projects that you are creating. So here you see the example, the difference between iterative and incremental based on Mona Lisa. So when you are creating the Mona Lisa, if you do that in incremental approach, you are creating it piece by piece, ideally from the start to the beginning. And that's very usual how the classical project management approach the projects. However, Scrum, they offer the iterative approach. So imagine a client comes to you and say like, hey, I want a picture of a woman. You draft a picture of a woman, and you come to your customer and say, this is how like the picture of a woman more or less should look like. He say, yes, but can you please this hand put down? Okay, no worries. You create another draft. That's how it looks like. Yeah, can you add colors? He add colors. Very nice, but it should be gray. And then so you constantly inspect and adapt. Here is our PDCA cycle we speak about the last time during the last workshop with you. Plan, do, check. Right? So we plan, we do, we checked it with our customer or without our environment, and then we act upon accordingly to this. Just a reminder about Kanavian framework. The Scrum makes sense to apply when we are here in this complex environment. Not very much when we are in a complicated environment or when we are in a simple environment, for sure not. It's overwhelmed will be. Scrum makes sense when you actually don't know how the end result should look like. Here in Mona Lisa, you don't know how the Mona Lisa should look like at the end. You don't know how your project result should look at the end. Then you need to apply Scrum when you are operating in a complex environment. More details about complex environment was in previous workshop. If you missed it, you can review the video recording. So Scrum is based on empirical process. If we don't know what we want to build or what we want to deliver, how we overall need to approach it. And it's based first on this empirical process. So transparency, inspection, and adoption. We need to be transparent with our environment, with our stakeholders, with our beneficiary, with ourselves, within our team. We need to be transparent so that we can inspect and adapt. So we need this inspection to get the feedback from the environment, from the beneficiary, from the customer, from the stakeholders, and adapt accordingly. In the Scrum, we're speaking a lot. So here you see this 3 pillars of Scrum, same the 3 pillars of empirical process. And in Scrum, we speak a lot about self-organized team. So in Scrum, you will not see the position of a manager. We believe that in Scrum, that team should be self-organized. Remember the Agile principles from the last workshop. We build around the self-motivated individuals. So we have professional and we have all needed skills inside our team. And there is no position as a manager. That's not possible without trust. And I can speak a lot about the trust and team management and how trust is important in a team management. But just believe me, the self-organized team will not be possible without trust inside the team and outside to the team itself. Also in Scrum, it's very important the value of the focus. We will see that once we will go to the practical exercise, and the commitment to the focus. So we focus on one thing at a time to deliver, and we commit to deliver that. And it needs the courage to think ambitiously, to try to make something really new, because in a Scrum we are operating in the complex environment, so we need the courage to create beautiful things. And we are not waiting for permissions. Actually, we do not have managers in Scrum, so no permissions will be given anyway. And we encourage openness and respect. That's about how team is operating inside. So we are self-managing, so we are not hiding any blockers, anything around ourselves. We need to openly speak about that. And of course, that's like respect is one of the important value of communication inside the team. Before going to the team itself, so in the agile development versus traditional project management, we have like different benefits. But again, remember that Scrum in particular need to be applied in a complex environment. So the visibility is constant, is not only in the beginning of the project and then at the end. It's constant visibility, transparency also. We constantly seek for adaptivity. It still go down to the project life cycle, but it's not like in the traditional project management where we are okay to adapt at the beginning and then, sorry, we couldn't accept any changes. In a Scrum and in Kanban overall, in Agile overall, adaptivity is one of the main factors. And the value is delivered not at the end of the project, but it's delivered constantly through the whole life of the project. And the risk itself is also because the value is delivered already starting from the beginning of the project. And we are collecting the feedback about this value at the beginning of the project itself. So we are reducing also the risk. How it works, all of that philosophy, values, no managers, etc. in a nutshell. Scrum in a nutshell. So we have a list of ideas, blah, 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 different ideas. Then we filter that ideas. Some ideas will go out. We will say, okay, we will not work on that. And some of them will go to our product backlog. You can think about the product backlog as a box. Okay, this is a box with everything that the team needs to work on. And we put this backlog in a priority order. So the most priority things, the most priority ideas from here go to the top of our backlog. Then we're giving this backlog to our cross-functional self-organized team, and this team produce the value. That's very, very brief explanation of the Scrum. Okay, now let's go a little bit more in details. Scrum is a framework, so it prescribes you something. It prescribes you some roles, how your team need to be structured. It prescribes you some rituals about what meetings you should to have, etc., etc. Let's see very, very briefly about what is prescribed in a Scrum. So, in a Scrum team, we have two different roles. The first role is the role of product owner. Product owner is the one who is managing this backlog. He's not managing the team, he's managing the backlog. one who is setting the priority to our idea, saying, okay, this is a priority number one, this is a priority number two. So product owner is managing this backlog. Then there is a Scrum Master, and Scrum Master, he is managing the process. We will see this process very briefly. He helped him to actually operate with Scrum values and with practicing Agile. So he is about the process. And then there is a project team that managing by themselves, and they're actually responsible to create this value to the customer. So that's how the Scrum team is operating. Also, one important note that this is Scrum Master and Product Owner. This is the roles, not the titles. Sometimes it's the title, but somebody from a project team can wear the hat of a Scrum Master or a Product Owner. So it's a role, not a title. Before we will go to the practice, we need also to understand some definition. And this definition are the artifacts. So as I said, we have a project backlog. This is a project backlog of different ideas or a task. Okay. Usually, like, it can be big, or it can be, it's also big. This is like, for example, small, etc., etc. So all together, project team with a product owner, a different stakeholders, they create this backlog. But product owner is responsible to put that in a priority order, saying what idea should go first and what second. Then, based on this project backlog, team is creating the sprint backlog. So let's imagine that they're taking in the sprint backlog the idea 1 and idea 2. Idea 1 and idea 2. Sprint backlog, it's also a bucket or a box with a task from the project backlog with a plan how to deliver this idea or how we will do that. So it has already, like, we have here the idea 1, and we have a list of tasks about how this idea 1 should be created, and idea 2 with a list of tasks. At the end, we have the increment of the value. Okay, let's go to the sprint Scrum events, and when we will practice that, you will see how it works in a practice. But also, before we will go to the practice, we need to understand what does mean a sprint. We a little bit touched that last time. So sprint, it's a time-boxed interval from 1 to 4 weeks. Within this span of 4 weeks, it's based on the team agreement. Let's imagine for our example 1 week. So we agreed with our team that the sprint will be in our team 1 week. In this 1 week, we committed to deliver a sprint goal. Sprint goal, for example, it can be from our previous example, idea 1. So we have agreed that we will deliver the idea 1. And at the end of the sprint, we need to deliver this idea. So every sprint, we deliver a value to our customer. And that's not possible, or to our beneficiary, or to our stakeholders, whatever. That's not possible without the focus. Because if I have committed that I will deliver a task within a week together with a team, but then during this week, the priorities are changing constantly. I need to do another 500 tasks. There is no way I will deliver this one. So the focus is essential to deliver this value. That's why no changes that damage the sprint goal are encouraged in the sprint. So we try to protect this sprint backlog, the backlog of our tasks that we committed to deliver during our sprint, as much as possible in order to deliver value. Okay, so that's an example. That was a definition of a sprint, and sprint start with a sprint planning meeting. So the meeting where all the team come together and are doing the sprint. During the sprint planning, they decide what they will do during the sprint, what will be their sprint goal, how they will do that. So they select some item from the project board, like idea one, for example. They decide what will be the plan for deliver this idea one. They put the sprint goal, they commit to it, and they go and start the sprint. Now let's go to Jira. So I have prepared the Scrum board for us. It has a little bit different interface, no worries. As I said, Scrum is making sense when you are operating in a complex environment. So when your consequences are not very much predictable, and when you need a constant feedback to inspect and adapt. In this example, I took the challenge of fundraising. So let's imagine we are together as an organization that is doing fundraising activities. And we understand that our fundraising is not ideal. So what we want to improve our fundraising. But we don't know what will work. Nobody knows what will work. We need to inspect and adapt. We need to experiment. So we decided to try Scrum in this approach to inspect and adapt. And together with a team, we sit together and say, okay, what should be our experiments? We decided that we will try to use Facebook for fundraising. We will try to use WhatsApp for fundraising. We can try to use donors for fundraising. And we can try also to use business for fundraising. We can use field fundraising to go to the street. Any other ideas? What do you think we can do to improve the fundraising? Please write in the Zoom chat or just unmute yourself. Okay, looks like I have an explicit list of fundraising. Good. So we have a list of this fundraising. We don't know what will work, what will not work. Probably WhatsApp will work better. Probably donors will work better. We don't know. So what we decided that for our first sprint, we will try to use a Facebook membership. Yeah, thank you very much. Create Epic. So using membership. Okay, and then public donation. Great idea. Public donation and social media. Okay, very good. So that's the backlog of our ideas. Now let's imagine that we decided to experiment with the Facebook. I have created for the Facebook here some tasks. So we can, for example, create a Facebook visibility for our organization. It can be a group, or like it can be there is a group and a public page. We can then find a relevant Facebook group for fundraising. We can communicate in Facebook about our activities. We can create a post for fundraising and distribute it among relevant groups. And we can also check the results. What do you think we can do else with the Facebook? What we can do more to try Facebook for fundraising? Any idea? Video clips, Dabaha, thank you very much. Create a video clips. Okay, very good. Any other idea? Okay, I think we have enough. So, photograph, wow, I even don't know what does it mean. It's like photograph, like photos, right? Yes, photos, okay. Photos, create photos. Create photos. Okay, good. So this is our backlog. Now let's imagine we are doing the sprint planning. So we need to understand what we can deliver in our sprint as a team. Let's imagine we have 1 week sprint. It's very important to not overcommit and not undercommit. So we really need to understand what can be achieved and commit to the achievement. I propose to do we have here create a group for our Facebook page? I don't see. Like, let's create a Facebook page. Let's imagine we do not have yet. That's a simple task. We definitely can create it. Then within 1 week, what do you think from this list can be achieved? Please write in the chat. And you can also use this acronym SB5, SB6, SB7, increase followers. Yeah, it can be our goal, but we need a particular task about how we will increase our followers. So probably we can create a video clip and share it. What do you think? Probably it will be a video clip that will be like her touching photos. Let's create her touching photos. Okay. So I'm renaming that to her touching photos. Okay, create her touching photos. And potentially we need to share this, her touching photos. Share her touching photos as well. And then, like, we definitely don't want here to create like the ideal plan. Message from the needly people. Okay, that's very good. Let's assume we already have them. Otherwise, probably it will take more than 1 week to get them. Or at least we need another task to get this message from the needly people. But let's imagine we have them. So we can put it already now. Yeah, it can have more details. It should have more details. So what her touching photos, where we will create them. You can create here the checklist, like what photos, how many of them, etc., etc., or create a Facebook page. Also, like, it should have more details. During sprint plan meeting, usually take 1 hour approximately. Here, I just give you the example of the conversations that you might have with your team. Okay, what we need to do, and that will be like our sprint backlog for our sprint. You see here SB sprint 1. So now we need to put the sprint goal. I like very much Bajo increase the followers. Let's make it explicit. So let's put the goal, like, for example, increase the followers by how much percent? Put in the chat. By 30%. Very good. And we believe that we can achieve this goal in 1 week by, no, we couldn't do that. We are promoters, because in our sprint, we agreed that we will do that via her touching photos, a message from the needly people. So if it would be a real sprint planning meeting, then we potentially would have a discussion what is the best way to achieve this by 30%. Somebody will say promoters, somebody will say some other things. But here we have agreed that we will increase the followers by 30% by following this plan. So this task, Facebook page, touching photos, etc., is our plan to increase the followers by 30%. It will last 1 week, and we will see how it's going. It's inspect and adapt, and we encourage the failure, because the failure is essence of learning. The soon we will fail, the much we will learn. So you remember this courage value. We should not be afraid of failure. We are ambitious. We want to increase the followers by 30%. This is our plan about how we will do that. It can have more ideas, more tasks. What is important is that the team feels themselves comfortable that, yes, with this commitment, we can do that. And then we click start the sprint. So our sprint planning has been finished. We agreed on a sprint goal. We agree on a plan. We will review this plan daily. And we click on a start. Here you see also very simple Kanban board. It's just because like that's an example. It can have much more steps and columns. Here we just like, because that's an example. So our sprint has started. We have finished our sprint planning. What we should do next? Next, we want the daily Scrum. So daily, every day, we come together with the team and we check our progress towards the sprint goal. So we have our sprint goal, increase the follower by 30%. How? By creating the touched photos and messaging, spread the message from the needly people. And we daily check, is there anything that blocks us to deliver this towards this goal? Usually in the previous Scrum guide, they give the questions that you can use during your daily Scrum. You can use it or you cannot use it. The main idea is that you are checking the progress towards your sprint goal. And if something is popping up, you can adjust your sprint backlog. The 3 questions that they proposed to ask 20 years before was each team member stay in a circle and say, what did I do? What did I work on yesterday? What I'm working on today? And are there any obstacles or blockers in my way? Everybody is answering these questions, and then like we are checking how far we are from the sprint goal. You are free to use your questions. That's just an example. So let's imagine few days of sprint pass. We have created the Facebook page. We are about to create the her touching photos. And we are about to also create the message from the needly people. So we come together as a team. We are reviewing this board. Remember the previous Kanban. We are moving closer to the done, where the value is closer to the customer, and we are checking is there anything is blocking us. how we can help each other to move towards this goal. Is anything else that like we think looks like, for example, we have created these hair touching photos and shared that, and that doesn't work, unfortunately. What else we can do? We can, for example, reach out to some influencers and ask them to share those photos. Okay, so we inspect and adapt, we check, okay, we have a capacity to reach out. So that's like something that we also want to do during this sprint. So we focus as much as possible to our sprint goal, and we check the progress, and we check if there's anything blocking us. We inspect and adapt the sprint backlog if needed. And then the sprint has ended. At the end of the sprint, we have two meetings. The first one is a sprint review, and the second one is a sprint retrospective. Let's first the sprint review. The sprint review is when the teams come together and check what they have accomplished during the sprint. Was the sprint goal delivered? If there is anything that they have learned from the environment or the context that has an impact to their backlog. So, for example, we have learned that influencers works well. So next time when we will do the campaign from the Facebook, or when we will try to, for example, use Instagram as our social media platform, we will try to cooperate with influencers. So in this event, usually the team is together presenting their work, the stakeholders, the customers. If you are doing the project for the customers, in our case, we are more seeking the feedback from the environment, not from the particular beneficiary. But we can invite, for example, our other organization so that they can learn also from us, and probably they can share some their experience with us, so we can inspect and adapt together. So this sprint review is inspect and adapt about what has been delivered during the sprint and how it's impact our product backlog. So here when we go to the sprint review, let's imagine that we have shared that and we also reach out to some influencer, but unfortunately for some reason we didn't share the message from the needly people. Okay, so this is how our sprint usually looks like at the end. No, usually it looks like all tasks are done, but here for some reason I stay with one example with one task not done, because that's also happened, and that's also our environment to learn. So here, imagine that we have done all of that, and we come together and check what we have learned from this experience. Did the followers increase by 30%? If yes, why? What is the strategies that we took that was successful and we potentially need to incorporate in our product backlog to do it even more? Or if we didn't achieve our sprint goal, what from this strategy we can learn, what from this context, what this context give us as a feedback, so that we can learn and incorporate to our backlog, to our future work that we will do the next sprint. Okay. And the sprint retrospective is also about inspect and adapt. But sprint retrospective is about inspect and adapt the process itself. So you come together with a team and inspect and adapt. I will show you like this. What was good? What could be better? what can we improve in any particular action item. That's just an example. There are plenty of different ways of how sprint retrospective can be facilitated. What is important is that you come together as a team, you inspect the process. Like, for example, here in our process, message from the needly people was not delivered. Why? What blocked us? What we can do better, what we can improve so that in our process, so that we are not blocked the next time. But it's also important to give praise about what was good in our team. And it's important to have trust and to have an openness to share openly any blockers and any obstacles that go through our way. And at the end, we can create the action item list that will have the actions or what we have agreed on, who will do that, what is the due date, and we can put this action item list also in our backlog to not forget about them. If we have agreed that, for example, the next time something will be improved, need to be improved, like for example, some reports should be shared, or we should create more the message with more emotions, for example. That's like how you can do that. So it's time for a team to inspect and adapt around their process. Now let's go to the Scrum process in a nutshell, summarize it, all of that. So it starts with a product backlog that is list of ideas and tasks, and product owner is responsible to have it in a priority order. Then, together with the team, with the product owner, with the Scrum Master, all the team come together to the Sprint Millennium meeting to understand what will be our goal for the next sprint and how we will achieve it. What will be the list of the tasks? It creates a sprint backlog. It has the list of the task and the sprint goal and the sprint start. Again, the length of the sprint, it should be chosen by your team, whatever works better for you. And during the sprint, you come together with the team daily to inspect and adapt how you are progressing towards the sprint goal. At the end, you deliver the value and you inspect this value during the sprint review, and you inspect the process of delivering this value during the sprint retrospective. As you can see, this is a lot of meetings. And it's also a little bit unusual. And if you are doing the project in Scrum with a beneficiary, it's even more unusual because the values that you deliver and the feedback you will seek for, it will be the feedback from beneficiaries, so you can inspect and adapt. But remember the Canavian framework. It makes sense wherever it makes sense, where you're operating in the complex environment. This is the best approach to deliver the value that is best for your environment, for your beneficiary, for your customers. When the environment around is complex, you don't know whatever, like a lot of consequence. You don't know how your final project goal should look like. So here you can inspect and adapt quickly during this through the sprint to deliver the value. Okay, let's go here. Few notes about the agile leadership. So here you see the graph about the leadership. So when we have alignment, the high alignment, but low autonomy, if there is a manager who is saying, you need to do that, and everybody like, yes, and they go and do that. It calls micromanagement. Of course, there is something in between, but in extreme thing, it's called micromanagement. When I'm, as a manager, going and telling you all the steps that you need to do, and I'm controlling all the steps that you are doing. If there is no alignment, and no low alignment, low autonomy, there is just a chaos. If there is a high autonomy but low alignment, there is also a chaos. Nobody is doing anything because there is no alignment, and there is a high autonomy, so do whatever you want, but like nobody is doing anything, or somebody is doing something, but there is no alignment. Agile leadership is about high autonomy and high alignment. So we even do not call manager, we call it a leader. A leader gives a high autonomy to the team, and he is checking that there is a high alignment within the team so that they deliver the value. You can see that by this cross bridge or build bridge example. So in high alignment, low autonomy and micromanagement, the manager is saying what they need to do. We need to cross the river, build a bridge. So here given a problem and a solution, and people is going and do that. In high autonomy and high alignment, leader is saying, we need to cross the river. He do not say, build the bridge. He say, we have a problem. We need to cross the river. We need to increase the numbers of followers. We need to solve this issue in the crowd, figure out how. And the team together with a high alignment decide how it should be solved. And with a high autonomy and high alignment, there is a house. Hope someone is working on the river problem, but nobody is working on it because there is no alignment. So that's about agile leadership, and a little bit about agile overall. You saw today a lot of particular tools about how to run, for example, Scrum. What should be the roles? What should be the process? Even if you follow all these roles and process are described in Scrum Guide, and even if you follow the Scrum Guide letter by letter, it doesn't mean that you are agile. It means that you are doing agile. And yeah, it has this what we call ceremonial Scrum. So when we say like, yeah, if we do not have the sprint review of 1.5 hours, it's not a Scrum. If we do not have Scrum Master, it's not a Scrum. And then it go to start to blaming the process. Yeah, but that's Scrum who is responsible for us to not deliver. There are too many problems, etc., etc. That's about doing agile. But being agile is about incorporating those values that are described in Agile Manifesto. Remember, Scrum is just a tool that can be used to put in practice the values and principles that we saw on a previous workshop. So also being agile is a lot about self-organization. So when teams start to self-manage, self-organize, and own being responsible for their process, not rely on somebody from a manager to come, but owning the process and focus on the customers, then the real improvements can happen and the real agile can happen. On a closing note, I want just to remind you that agile is iterative and incremental approach. Iterative, remember the Mona Lisa example. Don't try to get it all right from the beginning. Encourage failures. It gives the courage to try and it also give you an amazing learning opportunity. And that's how you can improve. And incremental, it means that don't build it all at once. Try by small steps and iteratively inspect and adapt to improve your process, to improve your project, to deliver value to your beneficiary or your customer. On that, I am ending my excursion to the Agile world with Scrum and Kanban, and I'm happy to answer your questions. Let me check, do we have anything here? Okay, we do not have anything here. You can unmute yourself or put your question in the chat, in the Zoom chat.
Yes, feel free to ask questions, please. And thank you very much, Anastasia. Today was really very, very useful because you give good examples. And I think you didn't have time for the workshop has not time for the complex context example. But we understand clearly how the methodology goes, and usually exactly all what you talked about is very adaptable to the diaspora humanitarian projects, and exactly that's what we mostly do. We meet, we plan, we make fundraising, we respond, we get feedback from the community, but in our own way, very traditional way. But if we adapt to this tool, it will be very easy because all of us will be, everybody will have access to these frames and log frames and can see the assignment, who's doing what and what has not been done and what is the goal for each sprint. So I think it's a very useful and we're interesting. We need to have more workshops about it to practice really. But let's see the feedback and the questions of the participants. So you're all, Onolapo, you're all welcome. Yasin, anything if you want to add.
Co-creation in Agile leadership. Can you please elaborate? What do you mean exactly?
Thank you, by the way. Thank you. Thank you. You did a good job. I really have got many things, from that. So I think, even when you send us, the recording, it will be easier to understand, because sometimes, there is a problem of communication, something like that. If it's computer or if it's, the mobile. Thank you, by the way. We understand everything you said.
Thank you so much for your feedback. The recording will be definitely shared, and I will also share with you additional resources. And I know that even with those examples, like it still can feel a little bit philosophical, right? But
thank you.
but as sorry.
But one thing, when you are talking, there is a little echo in the microphones, I think so. But if you are going to do another one, I would like, this microphone is echo. Sometimes when you are talking, even a watch, the recording, even you can see there.
Yes, thank you so much. Thank you. I didn't know about that.
Yes,
I will check the
I'm very glad.
microphone.
I'm very glad to participate in this, Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, thank you very much for the thorough presentation. I was greatly impacted. I left a question initially. I was just looking at co-creation in Agile leadership. You mentioned the place of micromanaging, which is one thing that we should avoid, which does not come with Agile leadership. So I'm just looking at, I saw it, I saw the concept of co-creation, whereby colleagues are involved in the leadership process, which is that a bit of your idea, you're bringing it on board. You're free to, it's a safe space for you to bring in your idea. And on the long run, leadership could turn that around to make ideas that will go into the backlog and that will be processed within sprint and then become something implementable.
Yes, Anelapo, I hope I pronounce your name correctly. Thank you very much for this addition. Yes, definitely. This co-creation is a kind of next step. And it starts, as you said, with a trust and with a safe environment. So when you feel yourself safe in a team to voice your idea, you don't think that somebody will laugh on you or question your expertise. When you are feeling safe, and then like these small steps of leadership can happen. And in Lean, for example, there is a full concept about encouraging leadership on the ground, because in a traditional approach, very much like it's about ideas in a project, and it's also about the process itself. When manager come to the team and say how they need to work, but actually the team in the ground know better. If they are empowered, they can improve the process much more and in absolutely different way that manager even don't think about because he's not on the ground. But in order for them to start this improvement, they need trust, they need safe environment, and as you said, and they need to feel encouraged also to feel supported about their small steps of leadership. And then with the time, when in a team there is a safe space and this trust environment, and they know that their leadership skills are encouraged, it comes more and more. And the more it comes, the more beneficial it is for everybody, for the project and for the process. So it's all about empowering team and people. And if you are also interested about this agile leadership and leadership overall concept, if you for some reason like not for some reason, sorry, but if you didn't read 5 Dysfunction of a Team, I really encourage you to read this book. It's an amazing book about how team is working and how team is evolving, and why the trust is foundation of everything. And once the trust is already there, what are the next step for the team to evolve? So I will put a link in the chat if you are interested about this. You can. It's a very simple, very simple and very also small book, but very good one. Very good one. Yes, I put the link in the chat. I put the link to Amazon. I don't know if you have access to Amazon. I do not have access to Amazon. I'm in Ukraine, but it's just like the link to understand how the book is looking like. Any other questions? Okay. If no more question, I will end the recording.